From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Friday, January the 3rd, 2025. A ballistic missile was once again fired at Israel overnight last night by the Houthis in Yemen, with red alert sirens sounding around 4:30 a.m. local time across large parts of the country, including Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, sending millions of Israelis to seek shelter in bomb shelters and safe rooms. This is the 8th time in just about 2 weeks for such a nighttime attack. The missile was intercepted by the IDF, but a fragment from the interception is said to have made impact near the central city of Modi'in. That did not cause any reported injury. Later this morning, the Houthis fired a drone at Israel. Israel's Air Force said it intercepted the unmanned aerial vehicle before it crossed into Israeli territory. And sirens sounded in southern Israel today as rockets were fired from Gaza at several border communities in Israel, including the city of Sderot. They were intercepted or fell in open areas. No injuries were reported. A shoulder-launched surface-to-air missile was fired at an Israeli Air Force helicopter that was patrolling over Gaza. That set off sirens in Kibbutz Be'eri. That missile was intercepted. 2 more rockets were fired towards Kibbutz Nir Am. One made impact near the kibbutz. The other fell in an open area, and there were no injuries reported there. Meanwhile, the IDF continues to battle terror group Hamas in Gaza and said today that approximately 40 Hamas terrorist gathering points, as well as Hamas command and control centers throughout Gaza, were struck by the Israeli Air Force over the past day, saying dozens of terrorists who had planned and executed terrorist attacks against IDF troops and the citizens of Israel had operated from within these areas. The IDF said some of the terrorist targets struck were established in areas that previously served as schools, vowing we will continue to defend our civilians against Hamas's terrorism. The IDF also noting that prior to the airstrikes, many steps were taken to reduce the chance of harming civilians. And Air Force fighter jets hit medium-range rocket launchers used by terror group Hezbollah in Lebanon later yesterday. The Air Force saying, as part of enforcing the understandings between Israel and Lebanon, prior to the airstrike, a request was sent to the Lebanese army to neutralize the launchers that posed a threat to the Israeli home front and our forces, and said that the rocket launchers were hit only after the request was not taken care of by the Lebanese army. The IDF saying it continues to act to remove any threat to the state of Israel in accordance with the understandings of the ceasefire agreement. Well, the oldest living Olympic medal winner has died. Agnes Keleti was a Holocaust survivor. She won a total of 10 Olympic medals in gymnastics during her illustrious career for her native Hungary, including 5 golds. She later moved to Israel, where she coached Israel's Olympic gymnastics teams for decades. A symbol of resilience and spirit, Keleti is known as one of the most successful Jewish Olympic athletes in history. She died yesterday at the age of 103. Rutgers reached a settlement with the U.S. Department of Education Office for Civil Rights over federal anti-Semitism complaints on its campuses after the department investigated over 400 reports of alleged discrimination and harassment. The reports were from between July of 2023 and June of 2024, 293 of which were against students on the basis of shared Jewish ancestry and or Israeli national origin and ancestry. The department found that Rutgers likely operated a hostile environment based on shared ancestry without redress, as required under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, and that it subjected some students to discriminatory treatment based on national origin, including shared ancestry. In the settlement, Rutgers has agreed to taking all necessary actions to address and ameliorate such discrimination. American Jewish Committee's New Jersey Director, Rabbi David Levy, said by entering into this agreement, Rutgers has acknowledged Jewish students have faced a hostile learning environment across its campuses, both before and since the October 7th, 2023 Hamas massacre in Israel. Levy said the nearly 300 complaints of anti-Semitic and anti-Zionist vandalism, doxing, and harassment investigated by the Department of Education are abhorrent and unacceptable. Rutgers must now make an unequivocal commitment to meaningful reform, which can be achieved without infringing on academic freedom and the right to assemble and protest. Levy said Jewish students, like all students, are entitled to an education free of threats and intimidation because of who they are or what they believe in. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Friday, January the 3rd. Live Shabbat services are coming up at 6 o'clock from New York City's Central Synagogue, followed by Shabbat services from the Hampton Synagogue. Then it's Jewish Insights with Justin Pines and guest Judah Mischel, followed by Abigail Pogrebin sitting down with Jewish musicians on In the Spotlight. Then it's a replay from the Hampton Synagogue, followed by a replay from Central. And coming up, a look at this week's Torah portion. And that's the JBS News Update for Friday, January the 3rd, 2025. I'm Teisha Bader. Shabbat Shalom. Am Yisrael Chai.